I always feel like somebody's watching me, and I have no privacy. Whoa. Hello, and welcome to the next episode of Matt and Todd Go to the Movies with special guest Tim Davis.
Yeah.
This is the podcast where all three of us went and saw a movie at our local Regal Cinema, which happens to be old United Artists Regal Cinema on Snowden River Parkway. Just in case they're listening, I'll throw out an endorsement. Support our podcast. Tonight we saw a movie, and we're going to talk about it now in the theater, not in the theater, in the parking lot. We're going to discuss the important things like, should you see this movie? Should you not see this movie? Should you wait for streaming? Should you just write it off altogether? Should you buy concessions when you go to this movie, or should you just save the money? We're going to try to get all of that taken care of, maybe a little extra, maybe not all of that. I don't know. It's kind of a go-with-the-flow kind of podcast. I am back in the front seat, and my name is Todd Domer.
And I am still in the front seat, and my name is Matt Malloy.
All right, don't rub it in.
Yes. And Tim is with us again. Love
Forever in the back seat.
I understand my place in life.
And I will say that I don't think you should get concessions at this theater anyway. Because I asked my...
there goes the endorsement.
I was going by movie. Like, is this a movie worth buying in concessions for?
Well,
you're not going to
be that as it may,
sure.
I'll tell
sponsorship
you
here.
that I asked, what are those, to a certain concession, and I was informed that they were corn dog bites. And I said, and how long have they been there? Are they somewhat fresh? And
you got an
she
honest
said,
answer?
Well, they've been here since I got here, which was 2 hours ago. So
were you not, I guess you weren't next to me in line last week when I was like, could I get a hot dog? And the guy turned around and felt every hot dog, and he was like, in good conscience, I can't sell you a hot dog.
Well, also last week, I asked for pretzel bites, and he was like, I don't know how long they've been in there.
So definitely not getting the sponsorship of United Artists.
Well, I still get a soda. You can't really mess that up.
That's fair.
You got a soda tonight.
I did.
Sometimes it's okay. Sometimes it's not okay. But overall, I think we can all agree that typically the customer service is not there.
Mm-hmm. It's true.
Tonight it was. The woman was lovely.
She was very
who rang
nice.
us up. But
nice.
that was because there was no one in the theater except for maybe two other people when we were buying our stuff.
Not
so
at our showing.
it wasn't one of those nights where there's like somewhat of a line.
Yep.
Yeah, and they have like only one person working the concession stand and 20 people in line.
And they cooked all the food when they opened up.
So, yeah. I get it. Cash flow's an issue right now. They're cutting corners by not making everything. But still. You know what? I'll at least applaud them that they were like, don't eat this.
Yes.
Yeah, they don't have to do that.
Yes, maybe that earns us our sponsorship.
Yeah.
There we go.
Well, anyway, we saw a movie. This movie is called See How They Run. We were the only three patrons in the theater.
Unfortunately.
Does that tie into how our ratings will flow? You'll find out, listener. You'll find out.
Yeah.
So, yes, See How They Run. There were at least two famous people in this movie, I'm going to say. Some may say more. And one of them is Sam Rockwell, whose name I can easily pronounce.
Yeah.
And the other one is, I would say, Saoirse Ronan. However, I would be wrong. Tim, say it for us.
Saoirse
Ronan.
Yeah.
Saoirse. It's Irish.
Irish.
Like her.
Yeah.
She's Irish.
She's very Irish.
So she has an Irish name. Saoirse. Well, great. And
Sounds aggressive.
Yeah,
What
it was.
are you saying?
That's probably how she would have said it.
yeah, well, maybe she has aggressive parents or is an aggressive person.
I mean, if she's listening, she can let us know.
Right.
Just respond
Please
to
ask-
the
please
Facebook
ask
post
Ronan or
of our...
Saoirse Ronan.
Yeah,
Please
I
tell me
know
that
that
you're-
you're searching the podcast airwaves for
Yes.
mentioning of yourself.
Well, correct pronunciation of your name.
Yes.
So is there anyone else we need to mention?
It's Adrian Brody, even though I'm not a fan.
Okay.
He was the unlikable guy at the beginning.
Yes, and he's most famous for what?
The Pianist.
The
Yes.
Pianist.
He's also in Predators.
Yeah, he's been in some stuff. I would say he's more famous for winning the award for The Pianist, and then everyone hating him because he was a jerk in real life. So maybe he's been humbled. I don't know.
I don't know.
Maybe.
Tim, you can make a plug for your guy if you want.
David Olewo, who's definitely one of those guys you've seen in movies. You may not know him on a name basis, but he most famously was Martin Luther King in the Selma movie.
I can see that.
You can see him being Martin Luther
Yes.
King? Or you, okay.
Let's see him playing that role.
I was like...
And he was very good in it.
That somehow escaped our podcast's reach.
That's okay.
Well, anyway, so there's your list of famous folks. What's this movie about? Well, it's set in the 1950s. It's about, there's this play called The Mousetrap, which is a real play written by Agatha Christie, and that is the same play that's mentioned in this movie. And so you've got your typical, it's a whodunit. So you've got your typical setup for the whodunit, where you have they play with this throughout the thing.
Yeah.
You have your cast of characters introduced. One of them is killed, and then the rest of the movie is a bumbling / genius detective who finds his way to solve the crime and find out who the murderer is, as it is certainly drawn from the cast of characters that you meet at the beginning. So that's the simplest explanation of it. If you've seen a movie like that before, this is a movie like that.
Proud of it too.
They mention that this is a movie like that, and that the play is like that, and it's about, they're going to make a movie of this play, and they're like, well, this will be a movie that's typical. Anyway, they play with that a lot in this movie, is the fact that they're painting by numbers. And then there's a twist, as there always is, but I won't go into that territory. I'll just leave it there and say, Todd, what are your thoughts?
Well, I think to start off with something you're probably going to hear a lot while I'm talking, at least. You guys can borrow this if you want. Is
Okay.
that this film is very meta.
Yes.
Like,
Yes, very much.
and honestly, my first opinion in the movie is it relied too much on being meta. It was like, here's the joke, and we're just going to keep hammering the idea of this joke into your head. And I think some people will find that great and amazing. And honest opinion, to start everything off, was I was very bored during the movie. Like, and I'm a huge fan of Sam Rockwell, so I wanted great things. But I think the movie's acted fine. I don't think anyone really crushed it or anything. Like, it just kind of is there. Like, this movie's just there to me. Like, it was kind of snarky writing that relied on going back to this idea that this is a meta movie too many times for my liking. And even though it's trying to be somewhat out of the ordinary with its writing, it does feel like paint by numbers at times too. I don't know. There's nothing I can say of this movie. This movie's not bad. There's nothing I can hold against it to say this is a bad movie. I'll never see this movie again. Blah 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 blah. But I also didn't think it was good. It kind of, I don't know. I'm having a hard time here. I'm a little tongue-tied. I don't know. Acting was fine. Story was okay. Writing was sharp at times and had some good jokes and some good timing of the scenes and some comedic stuff going on like that. And so that was some of those things was enjoyable to watch. We don't get too many, I don't think we get too many nowadays comedies that are both writing and scene and acting all contributing at the same time to make things funny. It's like either or. And I thought at times I was like, that's very funny because everything plays into the joke. And then other times they went for it again, and I was like, too many trips to the well. So, this is a hard one. Like, so if you are a fan of whodunit movies, then you should probably see this movie. Should you see it in theaters? I don't even think you'll get a shot. I'm not sure if it'll be here next week, but why not? If you're a fan of whodunit movies and you're on a tight budget and you don't want to see it in theaters, then you should still probably see it. It's not a bad whodunit. It just relied too much, in my opinion, on the kookiness and funniness of this movie, and it wasn't funny enough to make me want them to continue doing it through the entire movie. So, I mean, sure, see it on streaming. I don't know if there's any real reason why I could say, hey, see this in the theater. And Tim, I'll borrow something that you said, is that at the end of this movie, and I completely 100% agree with you, is that you were like, it reminded me of Clue. And I was, in my mind, when I was thinking, I was like, I'd rather be watching Clue.
And I would agree with that as well.
So it's not going to get a super bad rating. It's like nothing so horrible about it. It just didn't connect with me. Like I just kind of was like, I was there for Sam Rockwell. I was like, I want something good for Sam. I know he was in that animated movie that came out not too long ago, The Bad Guys or whatever, that we never saw. And I'm like, I want good things for you because I think he's a phenomenal actor. But it just like, it was just all kind of to me. Like, I just was like, all right, this is here. So, yeah, I mean, I don't really have anything to add to that. I'm not mad that I saw it. I'm not leaving going like, this is a banger. I'm just somewhere stuck in the middle of just being like, that was a film and I watched it.
And this is a podcast that you're listening to.
Yeah, this is a podcast that you're listening to. So that's where I'm going to end it. So, Tim, what did you think about this movie? If I had to guess, I think you liked this movie a lot because your tell of whether or not you like a movie that I've picked up a lot is little laughs. Little like, ha, or like, yep. Or like, and I heard a lot of that during this movie, so.
Well, as I will preface by saying, I am a big fan of the whodunit genre. It's probably one of my favorite tropes. I think, and I like that this movie did play with it. Like you said, it was meta. And its whole bit was, yes, we are one of those movies, and we're going to talk about that, but we're also going to do it, even though we're pointing out the tropes that are there. And to me, I enjoy that kind of humor. And while you do bring up Clue, and I brought up after seeing it, Clue, I think, is the masterclass in doing the genre, but also making fun of it in the same, but also doing it.
Sure.
Clue, I think, that has some of the sharpest writing in a movie I think I've ever seen.
I'd agree.
Whereas this wanted to get there, and it fell short a little bit, I would say. But not at any fault of the actors or I actually loved the editing and the scene changes. I thought they had some really clever ways they would kind of show the flashbacks and the ways they would cut from a scene to another scene. I thought there was some nice synergy there. Saoirse Ronan, I think, is just adorable in it. She's like the too eager to please, like naive detective, and she really.
She's a constable. She's not
a constable.
She's not
sorry,
an inspector yet.
But she embraced the naivete of her role, and I thought that was really good. Sam Rockwell, actually, I thought, as good as he is, kind of underplayed himself, and did not go as hard as he normally does in movies, and that surprised me a little bit. He was a little too straight for me. Everybody else seemed to be like hamming it up, which is what you want. And Adrian Brody was his usual unlikable self, but it worked for this movie. So I don't know. As a whodunit fan, I really enjoyed it. It could have been better. It had the concept right. I still enjoyed it, and Yes, my tells were there. Yes, because I was immersed in the world and having a good time, and I thought everybody, there were some great little, like you said, little timing moments, some of the jokes that really hit, but some of the others were like, oh, okay, that's okay, and I wanted it to be better, so it's not like one of the best whodunits I've ever seen, but it is a fun ride. I don't think you have to see it in theaters, and like you said, it may be hard to see in theaters soon, but if you are a whodunit genre fan like myself, it is worth seeking out.
Yeah, I don't think this movie's going to get the come back and see it a second time treatment that a lot of movies are getting.
No,
nowadays.
I don't think it's that either, but it's a fun little jaunt. And it's a nice, short, and snappy.
Yes, it is like
hour and a half,
not
maybe.
very long. Yeah, in a day and age where we're seeing consistently
Yes.
two and a half hour movies,
It gets in,
an
it
hour
gets
and a
out.
half is a nice, refreshing thing sometimes. Matt,
Well,
I heard some sighs on your end, which is your tell. So,
well, first I'm going to talk about what I liked about this movie.
Yes,
that's fair of you.
Saoirse Ronan, I liked. I like her in general.
she was charming.
And I liked her acting in this. She had a good character to work with, and she really brought the character to life.
If she's listening right now,
Yes.
you like her in
Saoirse.
general. Do you like her, or do you just like her as an actor? Like, if she were to respond and be like, "Hey, Matt," you'd be like, "Oh."
Well, Todd, my answer would be yes.
I'm not trying to answer.
Fair enough. We can move on.
Next.
Matt likes you, I think.
I would have lunch with her. I mean,
Yeah, you wouldn't say no.
Tim likes you if you're listening. Reach out to us.
yes. So, and it was short.
Yes.
Yes.
So those are the two things that I liked about this movie. What I didn't like was I was bored at times. I thought that the twists and turns of this movie did not hit very hard. Like, I was like, is that it? Is that it? And even at the end of the movie, I was like, is that it? I don't know. Maybe. It felt like they could have gone harder on the twists and turns. And the other thing that has been mentioned is that I thought, like, sometimes you watch a movie and you're like, oh, this is what they were going for, and they nailed it. And they really did what they set out to do. Whether or not you liked it, they nailed what they were trying to do.
Sure.
I don't think that this is one of those movies. I think they were trying to go for, let's be meta, let's talk about what it's like to have a play or a movie that is a whodunit and all the tropes that come in, and then let's also do it at the same time that we're talking about it. And I just, like, I felt like it could have been sharper, it could have been more on point. If that's what you were going for, there's smarter and funnier ways that you could do that. I don't have those.
Clue.
Clue, sure. And I didn't really know much about this movie coming in, but I was definitely like, I feel like I already know what the premise is. I feel like we're in Knives Out or Death on the Nile or
An old Thin Man movie.
Murder on the Orient Express. Like, any of those, like, I felt like that's what we were going for, and I felt like for the most part that's what we got.
Right.
I think those movies are a little bit more, take themselves more seriously, and so you don't fall into the meta-ness of the movies as much with those guys. But yeah, I think Clue is a good. We were going for this type of comparison, and yeah, I don't think they got it. So, did I like this movie? No, not really.
Fair.
Did I have a bad time? No, not really. This movie to me was like a meh. I think if you like any of the actors or actresses involved, you might enjoy watching the movie. If you like whodunits, you might like the movie. I think anybody else is going to be like, meh.
Yeah, I think that the big difference between Clue and this movie is that Clue lets you invest in the characters,
Correct.
all the characters,
Yes.
whereas this movie primarily focuses on the inspector and the constable.
Right.
Like, so those are the two characters where you learn more about them and stuff like that, and you're like invested in them.
Yes.
Whereas
Not the
Clue
suspect,
was the
not the
sharp,
suspect.
witty writing. Everyone got invested in. You were like learning about everyone, and you were like, okay, this is all kind of. It all came
And
together
they
in a
were
perfect.
peeling
pot.
the onions in much
Yeah.
better, in a much more clever way, while also making fun of the trope.
I think what we're saying is maybe instead of seeing this movie, just
Yeah,
go watch
Just
Clue.
go watch Clue.
Clue is the example,
And you
of-
can get what maybe this movie was going for and just didn't quite hit the mark.
Yes.
Anywho,
certainly had the pieces to do it, just didn't.
sure, it just. Well, and I think it's hard to get invested in the movie when you're not given a chance to be invested in
Yeah.
anyone else.
I think
Like,
that's fair.
it's just like. And they rested on the snarkiness of the writing. They're like, we don't need people to invest in the people because we're being meta and we're being this. Like,
Right.
so it just was like you could obviously see what they're going
Yep.
for. It just didn't hit that mark.
Yeah. I thought Sam Rockwell's character was not very likable, actually.
I agree with you. And you want to like Sam Rockwell
Right.
coming in
You want to like the two main characters, even if they have problems
as
with
they would in
drinking
this
or
trope.
whatever.
Yes, correct.
Well, I'm thinking about like, let's use Death of the Nile specifically.
Yeah.
You got a ton of backstory on Hercule Poirot,
Yes.
and
Yeah,
you could
Poirot
like
is-
understand. It was
Right.
like such an in-depth character study of him personally
Mm-hmm.
that you understand. Like by the time that movie ends, you understand the way he is. You understand why he's like doing what he's doing. Like I mean, you like are fully into his character.
And that's why that character had like a PBS show that lasted 10, 15 years because
Right.
it's a great character, great investigator.
So, anywho, what? How many Agatha Christie's would you give this movie? As it's not that much of a spoiler, but she's in the movie because this movie's so meta that of course Agatha Christie's in the movie. So,
Not the real Agatha
no,
not
Christie.
an
yeah,
actor's playing.
no, yeah. Not a well, she's dead. So not a dug up corpse of Agatha.
That
Although
would've been
that
more
might be a
impressive,
better metric to rate. No.
Yeah.
So obviously 0 being bad because then you have none, and then 5 being the best because then I don't know how many books she wrote, but maybe it's more than 5. So
Yes.
you got a Agatha for each season, and then an extra one. So
Bonus Agatha
There you go.
yeah.
for
Matt?
leap years.
For leap years, yes, of course.
We all know that Leap Day falls outside of all seasons, Todd. Come on.
That's true.
Come on, Todd.
I'm going to be very simple with this and say that I give it 2.3 Agatha Christie's. I thought it was a very average movie, and I thought that they could have done a lot more with what they had, so you drop below average, and that's where I'm going to end up.
Fair. Tim?
As the whodunit fan, my rating will probably be the highest in the car here.
Sure.
And I will be at a 3.1.
Okay.
For all the reasons that I've already stated and dived into, I'm going to stick with my comment of this was a movie and I saw it. And I'm going to say 2.5. Just
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
even
Right
down
there.
the road, this is a movie. If I could choose which Agathas I get, I would take a winter Agatha, and a fall Agatha, and then half of a spring Agatha.
Okay.
So,
I would just take all bonus leap year Agathas and live in that world forever.
There you go.
Good. Okay. Well, before we wrap up, any last thoughts?
Go watch Clue.
Yeah, I feel like that's the consensus of the car right now. It's like, maybe it's been a while since you've seen Clue, so maybe you should go see that one.
And
Okay.
I highly recommend the Thin Man movies of the 30s. Those were fantastic.
Oh, okay.
Very good.
An actual, like, you should go see this. It's
Yes.
real and meaningful.
Well, I also have an additional point that's unrelated to this movie.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
On Monday, I went and saw the 40th anniversary edition of Poltergeist.
Oh, Poltergeist! Wow.
Now, I had never seen Poltergeist.
Oh, so
That's
it was your first
surprising.
scene.
It is
Interesting.
surprising. My friend who I went with was somewhat offended that I had never seen it.
But at least, yeah, you know.
But he was like, this edition is different and much better than the original one.
Oh.
And they set up like Poltergeist 2 much better in this movie.
Oh,
So
interesting.
I would say I thought it was great. As a horror fan, it's a classic. If you love the 80s, it's very 80s.
That's the Craig T. Nelson little
Yes.
girl.
Yes.
They're
Yes.
here. Okay.
That's
Yes.
an old-fashioned horror movie.
Yes.
Yeah, I like that one.
Yes.
That's a good one.
And it's gory, it's gruesome, it's weird things are
Creepy.
floating, it's
Yes.
creepy, and I really enjoyed it. So I would say,
Sequels aren't as good.
if you have a chance while it's still out or around, or I don't know if it'll go to streaming, but see the 40th anniversary version
Check that out. It's been a
because
while.
it's pretty cool, pretty good.
I need to know if they cut out my favorite part of that movie because of how ridiculous it is when Craig T. Nelson's yelling at the guy. He's like, "You moved the headsets, but you didn't move the bodies," and then he's like shaking him, and he's just like, "Ah!" Like he just like yells out a weird scream.
I think that's in the movie.
I would think that's
It has to
probably
be
accurate.
because it's so amazing.
I think
so
they
amazing.
I think they only added things. They didn't
Okay.
take anything away. But I don't know. I never saw
Because it is like
The sequels don't look
one of the most intense parts of the movie that I have to chuckle at because it's just so delivered over the top.
fair enough.
in a very mostly calm to that point.
So, okay. Well, all that's to be said. Back to see how they run.
Back to Clue, really.
Okay, back to Clue. Go see Clue. But we will wrap up to say that this movie, See How They Run, got an average rating of 2.6 and a third hundredth
Just
of
over average.
a point
A third hundredth of an Agatha Christie.
of an Agatha Christie out of 5. So that's marginally above average. Mostly it's a forgettable movie, I think.
It's a movie, and you've seen it.
And yes.
You can rest on those morals alone.
Yes.
This was a movie. It had a beginning, middle, and end.
Very much. If you saw it, you won't regret it. If you didn't see it, you will regret it.
Right.
That's a pretty fair statement.
Yes. So, thank you all listeners for listening to our podcast, and we will see you next time.
Da da da
Da da
da da da.
da da da.